Hi, y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all-natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self-care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of the Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations between us and special guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
How are you doing?
Whew, grateful. Really, really grateful. There's so much. You and I often talk about, we used to say holding, but we're not saying holding.
No, we're not.
Acknowledging the grief and gratitude of this season. And I look forward to having a fun conversation today for our season wrap up. And yeah.
Yes. And a lot of times, we talk about doing all of it. We talk about the little details, being intentional about our action, all the different dimensions of wellness. That's a lot to cover, even between how long our name is. We were like, we don't want to stress people out. And around the holidays, it's easy to do, right?
It is. I think about it. And I was thinking the other day.
Yeah.
Because this is the time of year that I'm auditing systems. I'm looking at calendars. I've, already got a whole bunch of stuff on the calendar for 2025. And,
yes,
but thank you. But I'm also redoing my calendar system, right? Because I bought that gorgeous
wall
Instagram calendar last year. And so I'm resetting it from last year to this year. And it's easy. Or at least I find it easy to get overwhelmed sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then I have to stop. I stopped this week because I kind of took on somebody else's anxiety. And I was like, wait, this is not mine. Yeah. Like, I love having a full life.
Yeah.
I like the life we've built. I like that I can travel and do the podcast and meet people from all over. And my calendar, the transition of my calendar stresses me out, but my calendar doesn't actually stress me out. Does that make sense?
I hear you. And it does. And I have a question. When you say my transition of the calendar, do you mean this period where it's the year or when the month happens? What do you mean when you say transition?
It's kind of, because I'm literally taking last year's calendar off the wall, resetting it, putting up this year. Like, it's a lot of little text.
It is.
And already looking at, I said yes to that. I said yes to that. And, even as I'm saying it, because sometimes I start to beat myself up and think, this is, this should have already been done, right? Okay. And then I have to pause and say, there's many a year that I didn't get my calendar organized until February of the year. So the fact that I'm looking at it before the end of the year points for me.
Points.
And then there's another part of me that's like, I should already have 2026s up because the reality. Well, I mean,
we're almost there. We are almost
today,
there.
And we're scheduling people.
Maybe in February. Maybe that's what you do in February.
And it's joyful, right? Because really, and it's all to me, instead of thinking, I've got to do, like, I get to do this. I get to have this full, beautiful, amazing life.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little tricky. Yeah. Yes. Sometimes it's a little, today we were looking at the timeline for book 3 of Women Connected in Wisdom, right?
Yes.
And making sure that's laid out. I was thinking, I shouldn't tell you this on air so you don't fall over, but I was like, we should be planning book 4 also right alongside it, right?
We talked about it.
And right. So
we really can. We could talk about it.
I just think about, as women especially, how much we juggle, and especially around this time of the year.
Yeah.
Like, in America, a lot of folks just had Thanksgiving holiday.
Right.
We're headed towards the high holy seasons for most religions and most holidays, which, in my experience, puts a lot of unseen, unpaid labor on women. right? And
Yeah.
expectations, whether they put it on themselves or their family puts it on them. It's
Right.
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I would love to do, because even as I was saying everything in the beginning, we were talking about overwhelm. I felt it, right? So can we take a deep breath?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let it out with a sigh, and just like you're doing, Shannon, if you're listening to us, Shannon's rolling her shoulders a little bit, letting her neck relax. If you're driving in the car, just let your shoulders come down. That's always my indicator of how well we're doing, is where are your shoulders? Are they up around your ear or are they down,
Mine
right?
has been my tongue. It's been like on the top of my roof. And it's like, why is your tongue always just relax all
Oh,
the
because are
way from
you
there?
are you kinda holding your tongue and like
Probably. And
okay,
like that, for me, that's my telltale sign. Like you talk about your
okay.
shoulders, is why
Mhm.
is this more tense than it needs to be?
And your
Just
jaw,
relax
alright?
all of it. Yeah.
So good body awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's a deep breath and let it out with a sigh, or you can even, like, move your jaw around,
Mhm.
because often we hold tension that we don't even know. You can put your hands right there at your jaw and massage it a little, or let your
Mhm.
jaw just kinda wiggle around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably need to add it to my stretches, especially as somebody who
Yep.
speaks so much and leads so much, you know.
Right?
And, I wanted us to take the space to do that because the holidays can have you in this ramped up and then you just keep going and going. And in between all of that, again, we talk about the pauses, right? We
Mhm.
talk about the incremental steps and
Mhm.
we have space for at least one deep breath every now and then. And I really love how our guest this season, Diane, was talking about the flow, the
Oh,
flow
the
of things, right?
flow.
Diane
Yep.
Allen, so good. So around the holiday season, they've been making jokes about it, right? The Mariah Carey song, here she comes. Mariah Carey is coming, right? So when you
I
start
love
hearing,
her,
and I love the
right?
song. Like you finally have a song of a woman telling you what she wants, and you're mad because she's
Right?
telling you. But I
Right?
get, but I get, hearing it a lot. But that flow and unlocking your genius and loving what you do by having that certain rhythm is what
Right.
I've been thinking about for the holidays. And you talking about your calendar and what works for me. One, not cooking on Thanksgiving, right? We talk
Mhm.
about women, and
Mhm.
there was one year I saw this older woman in our family who has to be intentional about her sugar, right? She ate
Mhm.
after we ate. I think she hadn't eaten that day over the holiday. And I'm like, no, we are not doing this for the holidays
Mhm.
anymore. I'm not
Mhm.
eating last. Okay. One, I'm not eating last. I'm not barely eating all day tight. I'm going to have an attitude. Nobody's going to want that. How about instead, the food is ready already? How about it doesn't matter what time people show up because the food is ready and we're outside playing. And that's what we've had the
Mm.
opportunity to do
Mm.
is get set up. So on Thanksgiving, we're outside and the food is done.
Mm. So you got to play on
Yes.
break.
Yes.
Okay.
For Indigenous Day,
Yeah.
I went outside with nature, thankful for everything that's come before.
Mm.
And you were talking about your schedule, and I usually hear you talk about it in January, right? Like when you come and look at your
Mhm.
wins for last year,
Mhm.
you want the
I'm
whole
in
year
that
to be done,
process. Yep.
right? And so I'm in that process. I'm going to start early.
Mhm.
I'm going to do it at the end of the year. And then kind of like we do the Profit First days, like the money management
Mhm.
day. The last one is the 25th, but then you have
Mhm.
those 5 days after you need to follow up on. So
Mhm.
I'm going to set a day and do a little me day and look at my
Mhm.
year because there's so much to be grateful for.
I am happy to share my spreadsheet with you because I did that with another friend this morning and I was tweaking it.
I will love
So for our listeners, if you weren't listening last year,
that. Right?
what I do at the end of every year, I do it with myself and I do it with my clients, is I have a spreadsheet where I go through my calendar and I go through my pictures. And I
Yeah.
do both very consciously because the calendar often catches the work successes and the pictures often um, count the social successes in the friends and the family, which,
Hmm.
when we talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, we want to be in balance with all of that, right?
Hmm. Yes.
And I started actually today. So, like, I have this whole spreadsheet and it can be overwhelming, but I find it joyful because I can
Yeah.
also go back and look at last year and so I write out the list of what my wins are. and then I categorize them. I'm such a nerd. Like
I love
I
it.
don't know if you know, because I'm updating our spreadsheets, but that whole drop down
Oh, I saw
feature
it. Yes.
it lights me up. Color
Good.
coded drop down. So there's a category. Which business was it for? Which was it family? Was it this? Was it that? And so I show what the win was. And then I want more of it in 2025? I
Mhm.
consciously check yes or no.
Mhm.
I say, did it make me money? Not every win has to make me money, but I want to know where's my time going and what works. And am I in balance with that for financial wellness?
Very
And
important.
then, right. And then I put, I'd have to look at there's a couple other categories, but it's
Yeah.
just the way, and I'm happy to share it with you and you can customize it, make it your own.
Thank you.
And I might put it on our show notes if folks want a copy, because I could make a blank copy that people can use. But
No
I found
matter.
it to be an incredible tool for self-reflection. And I'm going to say that with a caveat, y'all.
Mhm.
Be gentle with yourselves. Be
Yeah.
gentle, because every year looks different. And for our listeners that have been listening with me, the last 2 years for me have just been two of the hardest years of my life.
Yeah.
And so they are going to look a little different, right? But
Absolutely.
here's what I found even as I started this morning.
Mhm.
There's a lot of joy and a lot of beauty in the midst of the grief.
Yeah,
Like,
there
as
is.
I was looking at pictures, and this
Mhm.
is part of this exercise, right? I
Yes.
was telling Shannon before we got online, Monday was my dad's birthday. So
Mhm.
I'm really noticing a level of sadness this week.
Yes, of course.
And I was even asking myself, like, is it sadness? Is it low level depression? Is it, not sure. Jury's still out, right? I'm paying
Really,
attention to my body data.
completely understand.
But what I noticed is I started to look back over the pictures, especially. I was like, whoa, right? Some things I'd forgotten. Because when you get hit with big grief, I don't
Mhm.
know about y'all, but my memory kind of goes Swiss cheesy on me. And I'm like, oh, I totally forgot that this was the beginning of this year.
Mm.
Like, I had some gorgeous picture of Dr. Jovisi and her kids when we did a walk somewhere, right? Like,
Yes,
it was
yes.
just beautiful.
Mhm.
And so that to me is the
Mm.
gratitude part of looking for the good, looking for my wins. There is a category that says challenges if,
Mhm.
I want to do that, but
Yep.
I've been doing this practice for probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And it's
Yeah,
one of my favorite things at this time of year
I love it.
to set my intentions for next year, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, and, the challenges are, maybe not the funnest part. I don't think funnest is a word, but we're gonna use it, you know what I mean? Because I was telling you, right, y'all, I was telling Christine before we got on about this Black Friday sale and what was supposed to be happening with Shalo Glow and the expectation versus what happened, and I could definitely beat myself up about it. It's year 4. Black Friday should be easy. It is not set up like I would like it to. We're supposed to be 3 months out, like I said 3 months ago, y'all, and wasn't set up. And
Mhm.
so things like that, you could definitely be hard on yourself about. And again, what I come to realize is, oh yeah, yes. I have a degree in psychology in Africa and African diaspora studies, not marketing, finances, or business. You know what I mean? And so bring in the marketing team. Where are you guys at? I will be calling you for 2025, right? And like you
Right?
said, having that grace with yourself and looking at it made me realize, okay, this is not an in or out of state thing. This is not a timeline thing. This is not even a having grant money thing. This is your strengths and weaknesses. And this is where you have the opportunity to build the team, and we'll go from there.
And being connected, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this fallacy I think that so many women have. I know I've had it for years,
Oh
right?
boy.
That we've got to do it all. So that we, especially when we can, because we have mad skills. Not
That part.
to be in our ego, not to be. We've got
But we're
mad skills,
honest. Yes.
and almost all the women I know have mad skills, right?
Definitely. Yes.
And I know I'm guilty of. Oh, if I could do it, why would I pay somebody else for it, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, because there's only so many hours in the
Yeah,
day.
literally. Yeah.
And what makes sense, right?
Mhm.
I think that's the other thing as I look at when I look at my wins,
Mhm.
right? It also, I have a column on there that says people, that I
Yes.
write who I was with,
Mhm.
because then I'm like, did I spend time with the people I really want to spend time with?
Very
And if
important.
not, who's missing?
Mhm.
Who do I want to intentionally, and schedule in sounds so harsh, but it really is. Like,
Mm.
when you have a really full life, you got to schedule. Like, if it
Yes.
means something to you, you got to schedule it.
And that's
So,
that. And for me, what comes up for that is that's when you make time for what you care about.
mhm,
What were you gonna
mhm.
say? What was the end of
Yeah,
what you?
no, that's the exact thing I'm thinking about. But if we don't put some time and energy towards it,
Mhm.
for me, I know it's kind of like I just go on a whirlwind about
Yes.
what other people want or need, or, because
Mhm. Yeah.
I love collaborating, and I love, it doesn't mean those people aren't going to be in my calendar, but I
Right.
also want to stop
Mhm.
and take a deep breath and look at it. In Stillpoint, the book
Mhm.
that I wrote with Sheila K. Collins,
Yeah.
we talk about one of the 5 skills of self-care being having a broader perspective, taking a step back and having a broader perspective. And I think this tool that I use and this practice that I have is one of my self-care practices.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the reason I really like it is because it's not overnight. We were just talking to one of our podcast guests that we're going to have on for everybody next year. And she was talking about the quick diets and New Year's
Mhm.
resolutions and all these quick things. And then we feel bad when in 30 days, we're not where we
Right?
thought we would be,
Mm.
but in business, it's not going to be that. It's going to take 2, 3, 5 years to see the
Right.
patterns and then know what to fix. And then you're into it. So
Well, and speaking of that, right? Yes to the broader perspective, and then yes to zooming in for the incremental steps. Because,
yeah,
in Interplay, we talk about change your practice, change your life.
yeah.
And I just want to shout you out and
Mhm.
Women Connecting Wisdom out, because a couple of months ago, we said one of our markers that we wanted to look at was our listen note score. And y'all, I'm so excited. So we went up from being in the top 10% in the world to being in the top 5% in the world. Whoop,
Yes.
whoop, whoop!
Yes. So
And it was an
exciting.
incremental. We said that was one of our markers. We said that was
Yes.
something we wanted to do this year,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
we've made little incremental steps to making that happen.
And
And
please go ahead. No, please finish.
no,
Excuse me.
just, and it happened,
Yeah,
right?
good.
And one of the things I want to shout out, and I don't want to say it was easy, because we've got 176 episodes,
Yes.
but it was incremental. Like,
Yeah.
we set that intention and we set that goal, and then we released it.
Mhm.
And we just kept going about our work. And I kind of found it on accident. I
Yeah.
was looking for something else for
Right.
a client, because I was looking up a podcast for one of my clients,
Yeah.
and it popped up, and I was like, wait, what? Whoa, whoa.
Hey, yes. Yes. And you sent it to me and I'm like, yes, I'm about to go in here, but this is amazing. And I'm so grateful.
Right?
And, thank you for all the listeners. Thank you for all the downloads. Let me see how many downloads this year, y'all. We had 1,947 downloads. So that's a huge win. And that's not only the people who wanted to save the episodes, but there's more that listen, more that joined us live, more that joined our conversation and have been reading the books and coming to our conferences and meeting us in person for our events. So I'm super grateful that you guys and ladies have been benefiting from the information that we're putting together and, passionate about sharing.
Right?
And what was a win for me, Christine, in that was that we found out that we went to the top 5 in a moment of rest. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, we've been gone for 2 weeks. I had been gone for a month, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And to find out that as we rested, we're still reaching our goal, that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
looking for. You know what I mean?
Mm.
As we feel tired and are taking a break. So
Right?
those things will come. And for me, what helps me stay consistent is being in community. Again, we were talking about this season, the social wellness with Maggie and
Mm-hmm.
every woman is worthy.
Mm.
And her story is so powerful. And what's really been resonating with Maggie this season and Dr. Christina from last season were these 2 white women. And what I heard them saying is, y'all, my life is not perfect. I feel like people gave them pushback because they're beautiful women. They look like they have the perfect life. And you forget that, I'm thinking about the number of children I have too. I have stuff with my family. This person had, perfectionist environment and, was looking for love and all these things that she had to work through. And so when I think about everything that we're doing, that's one of my anchors, is knowing that I'm coming from a place of worth, that the people around me are worthy, not just because we are amazing, dimensional, multifaceted professional women, but as people who have a purpose in life, we are worthy first. And then we enjoy community and we celebrate our wins and walk through our challenges together.
Yeah, that was a powerful episode. That was episode 173. And that was before the election.
Yes, it
and
was.
we had a lot of hopes and dreams that did not come true. Right.
That did not.
And I think that it's going to be important to remember, no matter what happens in America on the political scene, that we are worthy. We're
Yes.
worthy of healthcare. We're worthy of our
Yes.
rights. We are
Yes.
worthy of supporting each other and having a voice.
Yes.
Even when there's things on the outside that are trying to say, nope, we've got to band together and say, oh, yep, we're not going back and we are worthy. And
I think it's a continued, I was super excited. Like, this is going to be a great time for Women Connected in Wisdom. And I said, Women Connected in Wisdom is definitely needed now. And we knew that already, like we knew that, but I'm like, we definitely need it. And I hope that you guys continue to be encouraged and empowered by the resources and the stories that we're bringing you, because that's what it's about. Us taking care of ourselves, no matter who is where. We know where we're coming from.
Right. And the power of connection. So after the election, I was lucky enough that so it was on a Tuesday, that Thursday through Sunday, I had an Interplay Atlanta performance intensive. We had Masanko Bande, who is from Malawi, and we had Carolyn Renee and Jennifer Denning. They were leading us in performance forms to expand our range. So we got to be in community and telling stories and dancing and moving. And the very thing, Interplay to me is just such a balm and it's so healthy in so many ways to reduce stress and tap into our body wisdom. It was just such a gift to be there. And then the next week, I went to Texas and retreated with women that I have been retreating with for 30 plus years, and to be in community. So really understanding the power of community, and that is what is going to get us through, no matter what, no matter who's in office, like community.
And that could be the pressure of the holidays, because the family is important, because the friends are important, and we're still tired from the year. And what does that look like for everything, And so for me, I've been going through the pictures and spending family time, and I was super excited to get the opportunity to do that, because even though the family is in Georgia, my time freedom has looked different. My financial freedom has looked different. And so it's been really spaced out. And so to say, hey, this day is blocked off, these days are already planned for, we're going to go do this, had a really good time. And, when we talk about, and we'll talk about financial wellness during the holidays, all these things through this episode. But I was thinking about our group, Christine, and how we talk about the library. Got this free library card. Was able to use these passes, y'all. Actually, let me show you. It's right here in my purse. Was able to use these passes, a little library pass. We went to the Computer Museum of America. And and it's the biggest museum, the tech museum on the East Coast.
Where's it at?
It's out in Gwinnett off Roswell Road. Is it Roswell? 5,000 something. So yeah, it was
I
a little
didn't know it existed.
Right, me either. And so the library had free passes. The four of us went, and it would have been almost $70, and it was free. It was taken care of because we had a library card. And so things like that are, have been what I've been intentional about, being able to maintain my financial wellness as I do different things, being an entrepreneur, and still get in that really great family time. That's a great memory, a beautiful experience. And we got to learn about the history of computers and the spaceships and all these
And
different
what was it called again?
This is called the Computer Museum of America.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
cool.
really
When,
cool.
it's probably, what would you say the earliest age for kids is?
Ooh, I went with my brother. He's 9.
Did he like
Early,
it?
maybe 5. He thoroughly enjoyed himself. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's all into tech. So we're all, pretty tech savvy and use it for different things. So I knew everybody would enjoy it.
I love that. And I love
Yeah.
that you got the free pass to the library, which, you have to be on for a while to get
Mm.
oh, I should tell you about this one.
Mm.
Um, the Railroad Museum in Duluth.
They take
Fabulous.
and y'all, those passes go quick. So to
You
reserve
have to
them,
be, yes.
you have to be
Yeah.
what?
You have to be on that waiting list for a while.
It's crazy. So I called I called the library, right?
Mhm.
Again, this is the CAB library system. We have multiple branches, multiple systems have multiple branches, right? So if one location doesn't have the passes, another location might have the passes.
Mm.
I called and reserved these passes for the locomotive museum that Christine is talking about, but I only had 2 hours. That day I couldn't get there. I was trying to reserve it for the next day. I was like, nobody's going to want these locomotive passes. They'll be there. They were gone.
They were gone.
They were gone. They were gone.
It's because it's expensive but
Mhm.
it's so cool how
Yeah.
when you drive by it, I drove by it for years and it doesn't
Yeah.
look like anything because you
Okay.
have to cross the railroad track and go in there. I
Yeah.
took the nibblings the last time they were here. It was
Mhm.
so much fun.
I'm gonna go.
So much fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
gotta
go.
take your brother. So
Okay.
much fun.
Yeah,
And
we were all gonna go, but
take your pictures for
yeah.
great photo ops. Like, it
Okay.
is just fabulous.
We can do that one too.
I went for a Duluth Fine Arts, I can't even
Right.
remember what you call it, like a
Museum.
field trip, or
Okay.
we were doing something, somebody was
Outing.
presenting something, and then I took the nibblings because I was like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous." But it's cool for adults too, like,
Yeah.
it's cool.
I'm
So,
excited,
I love
and
that.
so, that's how I've been balancing things this holiday seasons as things look different, as I wait for
Mhm.
and we talk about transparency and stories on the podcast. As I wait for this check to deposit over Black Friday weekend, we can still do free stuff that would usually cost money that doesn't cost anything out of pocket, just some time
Right?
and some, logistical organization. So this month, y'all, we were going to talk to Shakira Drones about using spiritual wellness to heal your finances. So, we have her information and we'll share it through the our platforms. But when I think about financial wellness and being intentional, I think about why I want to use my money, where I use it, why I'm okay with spending my life in the hours of work at different places that I'm okay with spending it because of the purpose that I see it fulfilling. So being able to block out that time to do that and be intentional with the numbers and where we spent it definitely sparked joy. And it reminded me of you and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce her name incorrectly, Haley's conversation. Hella, how do you think you pronounce
Hella.
it? Hella, y'all's podcast was beautiful about intellectual wellness, and that was right after the election. And 3 keys to
Mhm.
building your business without it having run your life. And that's what comes up for me when we talk about the holidays and women. I don't want us to be swept up by the season. I want us to thoroughly enjoy it, be involved, but also, again, not have it run the whole schedule because it's only part of the schedule.
Let me ask this question.
Yeah.
What helps you to enjoy this season? What are things that when you think about that spark joy for you? What's on that list?
I would say together time,
Mhm.
together time. And my story is unique because I didn't grow up with my family. My dad was married multiple times. Families were changing, divorcing, health stuff, all the different things. And so because my house was not where we had food, usually we didn't have a lot of food when I was growing up, brushing my teeth in the chemistry classroom and having holes in my shoes, I was always at somebody else's house, usually if fun stuff was going on, you know? And so I had the opportunity to take Farrah over my godmom's house, and that's who I was usually with, you know, helping her cook, or one of my other friends' moms helping them cook. Or with my best friend, who is now the mother of my godchildren. And so that's what we did this year. So really getting that time in and not just working, especially being in the hospitality industry for so many years, you know, usually when everybody else is celebrating is when we're on. So it's everybody's off season and I'm on and popping. And so even though, you know, we're busy right now and gearing up for 2025, the together time was really beautiful. And that is the anchor for me.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shaylo Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shaylo Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups, really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. You know, the story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So yay.
Tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, you know, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. You know, especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
Oh yeah, together time. It's such a juxtaposition, right? Because the end of the calendar year, people are trying to cram in appointments and meetings, and there's things that need to be done, right? And at the same time, what I really want to do is go on walks with my friends, play board games. So I try to schedule those in too. Like this weekend, one of my dearest was in town from California. So we had a game night, and, you know, it was fabulous. And Tracy came over, and, you know, we just those moments, right? And they don't have to be long, but getting to hug our people and say hello. And I really, really enjoy that. And I enjoy walking with my neighbors. And even though it's been cold in Georgia, y'all, I mean, it's been
below 30 degrees.
What?
Yeah, it's been cold. Been bundled. And yeah, you know, that's what brings the warmth is those moments, like you said. I love how you said that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think about, I mean, we know this last year, the last couple of years for both of us have really spoken to that life is short. You know, life is short, and hug your people, right? So
yeah,
spending time, even if the house isn't perfect, or, you know, like how do we connect with each other and
Yeah.
make time for each other.
And what you're talking about, I've been working on my planners, and I'm thinking about, and I say this every year. And so hopefully next year is the last year I say this. Y'all know my planner always falls apart and then the pages start coming out. But what I started working on for 2025 is just putting those dates down, putting the birthdays down that I want to celebrate, putting down the different things already planned out, the money management days, Joe, you talking about Joe Ventries, her birthday's in January. It's already in here, so that I can make sure, I have the space and the reminders to show up and celebrate everybody. And so that's what I would say now as a young adult, who is finally, I feel like, figuring out my pace. And as a business owner, it has helped me, for me, you, and then me and Tino as my business partners, to look at our numbers in October and start those conversations for our team, for me and Pharaoh as a romantic partner, to start planning our holiday parties. We talk before we start talking to our family about holiday travel and stuff, and so getting those conversations started early and then having time planned out. And when I plan my time, I was talking to one of the high schoolers about this. She's nervous about going to college and change and all these things. And I told her, one, nail down something that makes you feel comfortable, right? Something that's constant for you, that you're comfortable with, that you love doing, that sparks joy, and try to keep that consistent through the time that's changing. So if it overwhelms you, how can you set up your desk or your environment that helps you? How can you couple it with something and pair it with something like a walk with a neighbor that makes you feel better and maybe releases that tension at the end of it, right? But then getting out ahead of it and setting your deadline before the actual deadline gives me more space. So if I'm on time, I'm early. And if I'm late for being early, I still have some time, and I don't have to be worried about fees. I don't have to be worried about somebody else being disappointed or whatever's going on. I still have time to show up the way that I want to. And that's been really exciting for me this year. It's been sparking joy as I think about my wins, knowing that next year I have a plan and we can pivot as we need to.
You were talking about the college students. I think about holidays. I think about transitions, but I also think about, since the last time we talked, like daylight savings time and the fact of how it's getting darker, right? And a lot of folks are affected by seasonal affective disorder, and how really looking at your 8 dimensions of wellness it can really help you to address some of those issues, right? Getting outside every day and making sure you see the sun or have the sun, and getting enough sleep, because I've talked to several people this week and their sleep's all messed up, right? Because they start getting sleepy about 6:00 and then
yes.
And so really, yeah. I was seeing something the other day, and I think it was about social wellness I was reading about, but it was talking about that we should all have 3 hobbies. And I'm trying to figure out what they are now.
Is it like one that makes money, one that's leisure, and one that something else? Is that what you mean? Is that what
it was like one that was creative, one that was like physical, and I'm trying, and I think maybe one that was collaborative or with like social.
Okay.
I think it was one that was social.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I love, we like to have it stacked,
I like pickleball.
right?
That's right? Still fun. Yeah.
Pickleball you've been playing?
I have. Me, Joe, and Austin, we all played. We had a double date. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I need y'all to invite me because I love playing pickleball.
Let's play pickleball.
Where did you go?
Over here in Mason Mill. Beautiful park up here. And the rackets are only like $3.50 to rent, and the court is like $3, but we're gonna buy rackets from Amazon.
I got rackets, and I can give y'all a link to those. And also there is a place, I want to say it's in Buford, where we can get food and drinks and play pickleball, and I think it's indoors. Like, so even over the winter we could play. That would be ridiculously fun.
Yeah, because I was just gonna thug it out and be out there in the cold and get hot as I moved around. But I like the inside idea better.
Right. It'd be super fun.
And I had somebody ask me that yesterday. I do know somebody that has a vitamin D deficiency, and we were talking
Mhm.
about it. I was checking on her,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, how much time do you get to spend outside? She was like, in the cold. And I said, well, maybe, if we're driving to work and stuff, maybe it's you sitting in the
Mhm.
car and letting the sun hit
Mhm.
your face. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, how can we be creative with it? How can we include more vitamins in our diet, right? Changing up what we're eating for that microbiome, but also
Mhm.
being proactive, knowing that it's going to get colder, knowing that the kids get sick and then the family gets sick after school and breaks and with travel through the
Mhm.
holidays. Um, and so, like you
Well,
said,
and I also want to say too,
yeah,
now they have the light therapy, like for under $40. Like they've got
say
really
more about it.
expensive ones.
Are you talking about
So
like red
light,
light, the infrared therapy?
no, they have like sunlight therapy that is like for vitamin D. It's like a
Okay.
vitamin D lamp.
Mm,
And you spend a little time in front of the lamp. Like you could do
okay.
it while you were reading or while you but there's some, like I'm looking on Amazon right now. They start at about $23 and
What
they go up.
about, is it a UV light, like the nail light at the salon?
I think so, kind of, sort of.
I
Yes.
want,
It says light therapy lamps can help your body make vitamin D, but you shouldn't ignore their risks. They're able to because they use UV light. So you have to be careful because spending time under them can increase your risk of skin cancer just as the sun would. So you want to
okay.
check it out. Check it
Yeah,
out and find out. But like I know when we go to the spa, like they have some really awesome red UV
they do.
lights
That's what I was
and they
thinking.
tell you the time that you go and yeah.
I like it. And y'all, technically we're supposed to be wearing SPF and all this stuff every day anyways. You know what I mean? So it could be added to the habits. And thankfully shea butter has SPF of 3, so depending on your skin and the sensitivity, we definitely want to add to that. But that's what I do to make sure I'm protected in any environment anyways. But I love that. A sunlight lamp for vitamin D. I'm gonna
Mhm.
share that with her.
Mhm.
Also,
There's
y'all,
one that's on sale right now for like $20. I'm going to send you that link or put it in I can put it in our show notes.
yeah, and I'll share it. I'll share it.
Okay.
What else have we talked about? This season, y'all. So we talked about physical wellness and unlocking your genius and loving what you do with Diane Allen. We talked about social wellness and every woman is worthy. And again, this season we were flexible. We had some things, we had the opportunity to move around, some dimensions that we did not give you live shows for, and reminded you that you could go back to the other 175 episode. But to lift up these guests that we did not have the opportunity to bring in front of you, again, Dr. Brandy Stamper talking about empowering boundaries, navigating parenthood and career for occupational wellness. That's been big, and for us, even through the books, through the podcast, one big thing that I've learned with you, Christine, is being able to see when do we need to pause? And a pause is okay sometimes. And
Mhm.
like we talked about earlier, you can pause and still
Mhm.
grow and things still happen. Even when the teams aren't there yet and everything isn't built out, we can have those things. And especially as parents in the holidays, and as women, a lot of times it could be uncomfortable asking for boundaries and setting them up. But just like the calendar, for me, it's not limiting, it's really freeing. Knowing that,
Mhm.
okay, this day I can move this 4 hour block to Thursday, and yeah, let's just move it. And we could do all of it if it's communicated.
Well,
Right.
I think that I'm thinking that it all goes down to noticing and checking in with ourselves. Like we have a practice in interplay and that I use with my clients with coaching about really just pausing and checking in with our bodies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What do our bodies need in this moment? It makes me think about our guest, Dr. Sandra, was it Dalton, who did
Yes.
the different types
Dalton
of
Smith,
rest,
the 7
right?
types of
Dalton
sacred
Smith.
rest. Yes,
Yeah, sacred rest. And really talking about, and I can't even remember what episode she was on. I'd have to go back and look.
right.
But, often we think, oh, I need sleep. and we definitely need our minimum sleep, but we need different types of rest, right?
Yeah.
Like we need creative rest, we need social
Sensory.
rest, we need
Yes.
it kind of
Mental.
like all the 8 dimensions of wellness, right? You
It is.
also sometimes need to rest from the very things you're doing to keep yourself going.
Emotional rest. Yes.
Right? And I think about that, and I think about it all goes down, the root of it is physical. The root of it is checking in with our bodies and what do we need today,
Yeah.
right?
And y'all, I'm so grateful for all the things I've been learning over the past few years because feedback is a gift. You know, when your thigh is hurting, it's like, whoa, what's that? Your toe is, your feet are hurting. It's like your body is trying to talk to you. You know, the fact that you can hear it is a great thing. A lot of times, thinking about shea butter, I think about, you know, people who deal with diabetes and how sometimes they can't feel their feet. And it's literally just the daily checks and building that habit in that is, you know, the thing, that anchor that helps them check in with themselves.
Mhm.
And that's how I think about it. Sitting with ourselves in the morning. You know, you ladies talked about it on the intellectual wellness episode, taking that quiet time in the morning. And before going on the news and seeing which celebrity wore what to what event, who made what political decision, right? Or what somebody else said about this person that looks like me. How do I feel? Right? Where am I at? What do I need? What am I praying over today? What am I intentional, you know, being intentional about?
Mhm.
And then at the end of the day, after whatever actually happened, right? Okay, where am I at? And what do I need? And trying to be intentional about checking in throughout the day. If something happens or something goes well or something goes different than expected, just doing those incremental, you know, pauses throughout the day so that you can end as close as possible, hopefully exceeding where you thought, but still having grace with yourself and giving your body and your mind, your spirit the space to say whatever it has to say to you so we can process and be present and keep going.
Right? And that we are allowed to rest.
You're
We are
very,
allowed to check in with ourselves
yeah,
in the midst of very full lives. And we are allowed to be intentional with what we need or want during this season,
yeah.
right?
And that's what Chantel Austin was going to talk about this season. We had the opportunity to move her episode for environmental wellness. And that's what I think about with women setting boundaries. You know, she says you are worth fighting for. And for me, I think about my dad growing up and how he always used to take the armrest right at the movies. And I'm like, I want all of my space. And that's how I feel in life. Like it's like a fight of keeping the space that you need. And depending on how many people are in the room, you know, you kind of shift. But you are definitely worth fighting for and worth prioritizing so that you can be met with your needs and, you know, what you want the holidays to be like. And also show up for your community with love and being present and celebrating.
Right.
Yeah.
We always talk about in my Tuesday class with radical self and community care,
Mhm.
right? We start not to look at our self-care to be selfish, to look at our self-care as sustaining. And in order to be able to show up for our communities and our community care, what do we need,
Yeah.
right? What do we need to do? And it can be as simple as committing to one thing this week. Like what's, whether that's getting outside every day or walking or making it to the gym or reading a book or writing down your gratitude. What do you need this week? Right.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that made me think, Shannon, and we've been talking about this for a while and we just need to do it. But
Yeah.
as part of our Women Connecting and Wisdom merch,
Mhm.
having a gratitude journal
Mhm.
that kind of has a space for each dimension of wellness, right?
Yes.
That has a space to where we can just write a little note to ourselves, a little love note or a little check about what that looks like, right? That would be
Yeah.
super fun.
Yeah.
Super
I think that's
fun.
a great idea. And I'm looking forward to the merch, y'all. And we're planning next year. So let's see where we are in 365 days. And, you know, the holidays is still here. We're wrapping up this year. We've talked about some of the big changes and some of the things that we can look forward to. And these amazing guests who have been here to help us elevate and maintain our wellness with you. What I wanted to talk about next, and if you going to say something,
Before we
wait,
go to
yeah,
that, I
what were
really
you
want to
gonna ask?
let folks know because if they're
Please.
listening today, they may be
Yeah.
thinking, oh, they're done for the year, but we are not done.
Mm-mm.
We have 2 more shows this year, and I'm very excited because we
2
have
more or 1
Heather
more?
Warren. 2 more, I think. We have Heather Warren coming, and then we have Shanti Journal Bay.
Yes.
Yeah, Refuge. I'm really excited. I'm excited to talk to both of these guests.
Mhm.
So we have 2 more shows coming, and then we'll be off for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And back to you. What were you going to say?
Yeah. Yes. So I was gonna invite us to share our wisdom in action for the holidays. I don't know if I have mine yet. If I have an actionable hashtag in mind, what are you thinking about? What are you doing to maintain
Um,
the day?
I am thinking about breathing and resting.
Mhm.
Hashtag breathe and rest. And if you could see my calendar, you would laugh about that. But I'm going to make time for breathing and resting.
Yes, because the air, just like everything else, just like the rooms that we're sitting in, right, or the places that we're at listening to this podcast, there's air all around you. You know what I mean? So it's like it fits in kind of like that's how I think about it. Breathe in, rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
mine is hashtag rest and celebrate.
Mm.
Be-
Yep.
this year has been different. I feel like a lot of the celebrations have been skipped over, just because so
Mm.
much stuff has been going so fast. And that's okay because this year is unique and I feel like it's really a setup year, a transitional year, a pivotal year, right? And so I'm excited about the result of what comes from all the updates and the changes. But when I think about volume 2 and these amazing ladies that we've had the opportunity to lift up and support through sharing their stories in our hybrid publishing company, I think about the intellectual wellness chapter that I wrote and resting and celebrating at the end
Mm-hmm.
before you
Mm-hmm.
keep going. And we have a lot of great stuff coming up. And I'm trying to be really intentional about being present, making sure that I get my rest, and making sure that I celebrate us at top 5, these new opportunities, and everything that we've done and have on the way.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So,
Well, as always, my friends, it is great to catch up with you and have a conversation. And, next week we'll be having a guest live and we'll have some more fun and conversation. Is there anything else we need to shout out before we go?
No, y'all just thank you again for listening. Join us live at 5 next week for the beginning of season 22. So excited. And this will be the one that takes us into 2025, y'all. So let's get connected. Get connected to all of our resources. We have so many resources we've been working on over the last 4 years for you. So if you're really needing some help on this holiday season, it makes sense. We have it set up for you. Go look at our show notes based on the dimension of help that you need help with. That's always where we tell people to start with. And we'll see you here next week at 5. In the meantime, don't forget,
Be well,
be wise,
and be whole.
We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.